Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about the data collection for economically disadvantaged students at your charter LEA. And the purpose is to address the data collection for these entities because it is important as that data is used to calculate program funding. So programs affected by this data are Title 1A, Improving Basic Programs, Title 2A, Supporting Effective Instruction, as well as IDEA Part B. 1A is a federal program that helps students who are most at risk to meet state academic standards and be proficient at state assessments. Title 2A is a federal program to increase student achievement, and it improves teacher quality and effectiveness. IDEA Part B are federal grants designed to support LEAs pay excess costs in providing special education and related services to children with disabilities. This also includes that children with disabilities have access to a free, appropriate public education. A little bit of background on Title 1A funding. Federal funds are currently allocated through 4 statutory formulas that are based primarily on census poverty estimates and the cost of education in each state. The SDA receives predetermined grant amounts for 4 grants. And the grant amounts are based on census poverty estimates that lag 2 years. Census poverty estimates are based on numerous variables such as aggregated tax data, SNAP benefit data, and state and county poverty universe data. So LEA census poverty rates based on SAPE, the Small Area Income and Poverty Estimates program, may be trending down, but actual state student poverty rate may not. So what we do here at the SDE, we transfer funding related to charter school students from the sending school district listed on the US Ed table to the appropriate charter school. So as you may remember, last March of 2020, US Department of Agriculture issued waivers to support meals. When these waivers were put in place, it resulted in the fact that all students could now eat for free and they didn't have to apply for free and reduced meals. Now, we recently learned that the US Department of Agriculture extended another waiver for the current school year, for the 2021 school year. So again, as a result of all students receiving free meals this coming school year, the National School Lunch applications for free and reduced lunch school meals will not be available. So this additional waiver will result in a process change for charter LEAs to collect data for the 22-23 allocations. So currently, as you know, in March or so, we'll notify you that you need to complete the count of economically disadvantaged students, both for existing schools and for new and expanded charter schools. Now, in the past, you have most likely used the free and reduced lunch application. Now, because USDA has issued this waiver and these applications are not necessary in order to eat for free, you cannot use that form for any purposes other than free and reduced lunch data collection, which of course now is not necessary to collect that data for. So long story short, you cannot use any child nutrition forms to collect this data. On our website, we have a income survey form. So your process for this next year would be to have the parents complete this income survey in lieu of child nutrition or CNP forms, and we'll get to this form here in a moment. So your parents will complete this form, return it to the SDE, and then you will complete you go through your usual process and complete the certification of economically disadvantaged students, i.e. the low income student count, and submit that data to the department. Due dates have not changed. It's still March of next year, October of next year, if there needs to be a shore up of data for the new and significantly expanded charter schools. Now, we do understand that it could be challenging to get this data returned to you, but without this data, without the forms, without knowing where students would have gone to school otherwise if they did not attend your charter school, we cannot transfer funding from the sending district to your charter school. So the student counts are used to transfer the funding from the student's traditional district, the sending district, to the charter LEA. The data reported on the JOT form in lieu of the paper form needs to reasonably align with IC data. LEA allocations are based on the overall low income and poverty rate as part of the federally established funding formula. Without knowing where charter LEA's students originated from, we cannot calculate the title program and the special education funding. I realize I may sound like a broken record, but it is very important. That's why I keep repeating my point here. Now, of course, you can use income survey data or other internal documents for other district-specific data collection purposes. For example, sometimes a charter, offers discounted sporting fees or discounted extracurricular activities, testing fees that you can use this data collection for. So this concludes the brief webinar about the free and reduced lunch data collection. Let's switch screens here, and I will show you the form, the income determination form that you would hand to your parents that they would need to complete and then return to you. Now, here at the department, we do not need to see this form. We just need a compilation of all the forms in that JOT form that I will get to next. So your parents will complete this form, return it to the department. We have instructions here on the form as to how this needs to be completed. An eligibility chart that shows the cutoffs per income cutoffs per household size, and of course the parents need to sign it and return it to you. Now, you certainly could possibly offer an online version of this, but this would be depending on your district's policy and data security measures as to whether you want to offer this to parents in an online version. Of course, the parent or foster parent, guardian will have to sign this form. So I don't know if that would be a possible option for your charter school. First and foremost, this is, confidential data, so you need to ensure that the family's data is protected. Let's switch screens again, and I will show you the JOT form. This is the student count form. You may remember this form. It's essentially the same form, the same layout, same information that we are requesting as the paper form that you're used to, but instead of collecting it through a paper form going forward, we will have this online JOT form version. So here you would fill out your charter school's name and number, contact information, the current total enrollment, and the count of students that are economically disadvantaged. Check the box if you are expecting an expansion. And then here, this section is very important. You would indicate the sending traditional school district, the total of number of students transferring to your charter school, and the number of low-income students. And if your students are coming from more than one traditional school district, you would keep adding here. So this is essentially an expansion and drop-down section. Now, the reason why we have the school district listed plus the identifying number and then have the number again is I will get this data in a table format that I then need to tie through a VLOOKUP in Excel to the calculation spreadsheet. So there's a reason for this duplication. Of course, you will sign and submit it, and then we can use the data that you provided to us to calculate your allocations. Now, it is very important that you have accurate numbers. If you are overestimating your student count, this could certainly impact your preliminary and final allocations. In order to receive Title I-A funding, per the federal guideline, a district or charter school, an LEA, must have more than 10 formula children. So formula children do not equal actual flesh and blood children. 10 flesh and blood children, your actual students in the seats, equal about 6 formula children. So in other words, if you have less than 10 formula children, you will not receive funding. Now, I have had it happen in the past where a charter school provided us with the data, the preliminary data looked good, they had enough students, but then when we did final allocations, data, student counts had dropped. So it's important that you have the accurate student count. Now, we obviously, I'd rather adjust your allocation with a positive adjustment rather than taking funding away. So for the time being, between now and March, you will not have to do anything. This is a heads up that this new process in terms of the online submission is coming. We will send out reminders early March so that you have time to gather the data. You will need to make sure that it reasonably aligns with IC data and submit that to us. And your general process will not change. It's merely a change of forms. In the past, when you used child nutrition forms, this will be exchanged for our income survey. So please note that you cannot use any child nutrition forms because they're solely used for the purpose of collecting data for child nutrition, and that's not necessary for the next year, you cannot use the forms. Let us know if you have any questions, concerns. We will be posting this information to our website along with the slides. Feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.